The world is a dangerous place. You must constantly fight for your survival and that of your loved ones. People outside your circle are just waiting for you to make a false move to attack, rob, and defeat you. In this world, you can only trust yourself. Sounds familiar, right? It's a narrative we hear everywhere, on the news, in movies, even in our parents' advice. But there is one slight problem with this worldview. It's not true. Or rather, it's no longer true. Seeing the world as a battlefield puts us constantly on the defensive. It makes us close ourselves off, pushes us to act like hunted animals, or worse, like insensitive machines. And in the process, we leave aside our most beautiful trait, the only one that truly matters, our human side. Today, on Luminal Thinking, we'll take a journey into our minds. We will discover why your brain is lying to you and why this prevents you from living the life you deserve. Shortly, we will even see why this exact defensive mindset risks getting you replaced by artificial intelligence. But first, we need to understand how to perform a software update. And to do that, we need to take a step back. To understand why we think this way, we have to take a step back, a big step back. We need to look at how we evolved. For 99% of human history, every single day was an exhaustive struggle against death. Survival wasn't a right, it was a luxury. The world was objectively a terrifying place. Wild animals that could end our existence in the blink of an eye, freezing winters, famines, diseases whose origins we had no clue about, and rival tribes ready to slaughter us for a piece of land. In that environment, paranoia was a superpower. Scientists call it the negativity bias. Our optimistic ancestors who thought, oh, look at that nice rustling in the bushes. It must just be the wind. Got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Our pessimistic ancestors who ran away terrified at the slightest rustle survived. We are the descendants of the terrified pessimists. All of this, combined with our natural evolutionary instinct, allowed us to get to where we are now. And look where we have arrived. We have built roads, massive cities, and global communication networks. We are able to make the Earth produce much more food than it could ever generate naturally. We have invented antibiotics, vaccines, and technologies that allow us to live better and longer than our ancestors. The harsh reality we struggle to accept is this: the vast majority of us no longer need to physically fight for food or to avoid being eaten. We live in a society based on shared rules that allow for peaceful coexistence. Sure, the world isn't a perfect place, and it's not totally safe. Geographical inequalities are real, and where you are born still determines much of your opportunities. Tragedies happen, but if we look at the data over the scale of centuries, the progress is undeniable. As the musician and philanthropist Peter Buffett brilliantly puts it, the world is a good place. Not a perfect place, as anyone can see, but a good place. And a place worth the trouble of trying to make better. And here we reach the true core of today's problem. Progress is not synonymous with evolution. Think about it. The fact that we live in heated, safe homes with full refrigerators is an environmental change. an event external to us. But inside we haven't evolved. Genetically, physically, and mostly mentally, we are identical to those men and women shivering in caves. Biological evolution needs tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of years to show tangible changes. We, on the other hand, have revolutionized our world in just a few millennia, and especially in the last 2 centuries. The consequence, it's as if we are trying to run 2026 applications on the operating system of a 1990s computer. We have old hardware, and our psychological software has received very few updates. Fundamentally, we are the same. And so, even in our comfortable modern society, we keep the same survival instinct from 50,000 years ago. But today, those behaviors don't save our lives. In fact, they are profoundly counterproductive. Seeing the world as a ruthless jungle where you can't trust anyone is the main bug in our system. It's a false belief that makes us regress and, in the long run, condemn us to unhappiness. How does this regression manifest? In our relationships. We constantly try to never be entirely sincere. We have hidden agendas. We set emotion aside because our primitive brain tells us that showing feelings equals exposing ourselves to the enemy. We consider empathy a sign of weakness. We project this distorted vision onto others. We tell ourselves, if he's just waiting for the right moment to take advantage of me, then I need to be proactive. I must attack first. This destructive mindset leads us to avoid building authentic relationships for fear of becoming vulnerable. We delude ourselves, for example, that strictly dividing our private life from our work life with an impermeable wall is the path to sanity. We arrive at the office, put on a suit of armor, and our colleagues suddenly become rivals for resources. We stop seeing them as human beings with their own fears and hopes. But we fail to realize one tragic thing. By stripping others of their humanity, the first ones to become inhuman, empty, and barren are ourselves. If at work we behave like cold, calculating robots, devoid of emotions and focused only on competition, well, it's no wonder we are terrified of automation and artificial intelligence. Think about it. We are lowering ourselves to the level of machines. We are trying to compete on their playing field. Ruthless efficiency, absence of feelings, pure transactional logic. But in this game, we will always lose. Machine will always be better robots than us. They don't carry the millennia-old weight of our evolution. They don't need 8 hours of sleep. They don't have to stop to eat. They aren't bombarded by hormonal fluctuations or the pain of a broken heart. They don't have to deal day by day with the weight of existence. Manual labor has already been largely replaced or automated. Mental, logical, and repetitive work is exactly the next step, and it's happening right before our eyes. If we human beings don't stand out, if we don't leverage the one thing the algorithm cannot replicate, our innate, complex, and wonderful humanity, then we will be in deep, deep trouble. In the transition period we are living through, our only salvation is not to become more machine-like, but to return to being radically more human. How do we escape this trap? By changing the narrative. Having the deep-rooted conviction that we live in a fundamentally safe place and believing that we can trust other human beings is not naivety. It's a necessary, courageous, and profoundly liberating mindset shift. The historian Rutger Bregman, in his book Humankind, proves with data and scientific studies that human nature, in emergency conditions, does not tend towards brutal selfishness, but towards cooperation and altruism. We are the species that survived thanks to collaboration, not solitary competition. Of course, I will repeat this for the cynics listening. Bad things happen. There are dishonest people you cannot rely on. This is undeniable. But statistics tells us that they should be considered the exception, not a rule. If every morning we walk out our front door anxious about being attacked or scammed, we are wasting the miracle of our existence. We will never be able to experience that freedom our ancestors fought so hard for. Being genuine, transparent, and open is not a synonym for weakness. It's the greatest demonstration of strength there is. Researcher Brené Brown dedicated her life to studying vulnerability, reaching an extraordinary conclusion. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. When I decide to show the outside world who I truly am, with my strengths, my flaws, my insecurities, when I decide to no longer hide behind a corporate or social mask, I become vulnerable, yes, but I become invincible, because no one can use my secrets or my weaknesses against me anymore. Building deep relationships, letting emotion flow from joy to sorrow, is what makes us living beings. Is it scary? Sure. It means having to lower those heavy shields we have built to protect ourselves from others, and often from ourselves. It's awful to suffer. It's hard to feel negative emotions. But voluntarily giving up the entire emotional spectrum just because our ancient brain is afraid is like deciding to live in black and white when you can see in color. We need to develop what Stephen Covey called the abundance mindset. It's the profound awareness that there is room out there for everyone. There is success, love, wealth, and happiness for everyone. Entering into fierce competition, obsessed with the idea that if you win, I must inevitably lose, is a zero-sum game. It's a terrible, stressful, and lonely way to live life. The abundance mindset allows us to exist with a deep sense of meaning, security, and inner peace. At this point, you might ask me, so if I open up to the world and trust others, can you guarantee nothing bad will ever happen to me? No, we don't know. No one can know. But this is exactly the point. We cannot spend our brief time on this earth locked inside a psychological fortress, trembling with terror just because there is a statistical probability that the worst might happen. We must honor our freedom. We must express it fully, without fear, with courage. The world, despite its flaws, is a beautiful and safe place, and it's worth living every single second, expressing our true human nature. If this change in perspective made you think, then you are in the right place. Here on Luminal Thinking, we try to shine a light on the hidden dynamics of our minds and our society, so we can live more consciously. Which side are you on? Do you still feel stuck in the evolutionary mismatch? Or are you already trying to apply the abundance mindset? Let me know down your opinion in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming reflections. I'll see you in the next video.